Hello and welcome. It is your weekly program that has always been concerned with the virtual gathering. That is the gathering that occurs on air and online. I'm Sherwood McCaskey as always. Thanks for your time. A very warm welcome to those who are following us via the World Wide Web. Last week we began our tour of duty in the parish of St. Michael on Bay Street. This week we have moved in a northeasterly direction to the community of Bank Hall. Today's program is carried by former national football champion, a gentleman who spent his formative years right here in this community. Wade Bascom begins the program by establishing the boundaries of his beloved Bank Hall, where his community begins and where it ends. Take it over, Wade.
The community of Bank Hall is located about 1 mile east of Bridgetown. The plantation is about 145 acres. Its boundaries are from the corner of Passage Road, White Park, Country Road, where Country Park Towers are located, up to Industry Road, and on the east from Hinesbury Road, which is Eastman's Corner, down to the Roxy Gap. We have a lot of little gaps through there, such as there's Waterhall Land, there's Dash Gap with avenues, there's Bank Hall with avenues. Then on the other side of Bank Hall Main Road, there are the Royal Avenues, Prince of Wales, Queen Mary, King George, King Edward, Queen Victoria, Buckingham. There's also Motley's Land, and a few others. And then on the other side of the road, you have Advent Avenue, Bradford's Land, Headley's Land, Skeets Road, and there's also Manning's Land, Peterkin, Strathclyde.
Wade goes directly into education and gives an idea of the schools that existed in the area during that time and service the community of Bank Hall. You would note that this was a period when private education was big business in Barbados.
In terms of education, we had just one primary school in Bank Hall, and that was Mr. Durant's Primary School. But most of the boys from the area went to school at Robert or Wesley Hall. Robert was located at the Moravian Church, and Wesley Hall is still where it is now. And some went to St. Giles. There were other schools in the area, such as Hinesbury for girls, and one or two have gone to Westbury, and some girls went to St. Giles as well. However, there were a few of us who went to St. Mary's. In terms of secondary schools, there were actually 3 in Bank Hall, and they were all private. The Washington in Strathclyde, Barbados Academy, commonly known as Rudder, at the corner of Bank Hall and Country Road, where Country Park Towers is now located, and the Windsor, that's in Quarry Road. I think that's still operating today. I want to go to Barbados Academy as a youngster because my cousin, my favorite cousin, and one of my neighbor, they went there at the same time. So I love the colors. And they wore the colors that Alexandra currently wears, blue pants and gray shirt. So I was intrigued by not only the colors, but because it was that close to home, I wanted to go there. But as I said, it was private and free education came in, and fortunately I went and I had a northern education, a good northern education. We had the modern, another private school in Robert Street, where ICBL is now located. They had Combermere up Waterford, Harston College, Queen's College, St. Michael. And there were also Lynch's Secondary in Sprite Street, opposite where the Central Bank is now, and the Wakefield High School, opposite where the Supreme Court is now. Lynch's Secondary was known as Green Lynch. They wore a green uniform and a white top. And the other Lynch was Modern High School, which was founded by Louis Lynch. So that's why Lynch's secondary is referred to as Green Lynch. And then Lynch's secondary and Washington merged, and they moved Strathclyde. Community High School was located at bottom of Passage Road and Barbies Hill. And then they moved to further up Barbies Hill. I think that is either Barbies Gardens or Strathclyde Gardens as it's called now.
Although Bank Hall is in walking distance from the capital city, a number of buses traverse the area and transported residents to and from the city. And of course, this community was a transit point for other buses that originated in the capital city and terminated in the rural parishes.
We were blessed, especially those of us living on the Pavilion Road and Lower Bank Hall Main Road, as it was called, because we were serviced originally by the Rutland Bus Company, and they had buses going to Codrington Corner, Cave Hill, Holders Green as it was called then, Arthur Seat, and Jackson. Federal at the time was owned by the Alleynes, who now own Federal Motor Spares. On the other side, we had Trotman Bus Company, and they ran to Bush Hall. They would come up Robert Street onto Hinesbury Road. And when they got to Eastman Corner, they would either make a left and come down Bank Hall Main Road, or go straight up Station Hill and around Waterford and come down. When they get to Sobers Corner, make a left and come back up Bank Hall Main Road. But if they made the left at Eastman Corner, coming down Bank Hall Main Road, they would make the right at Sobers Corner and go up Bank Hall into Bush Hall and Waterford and come down. So I think it was like every 15 minutes you got a Bush Hall bus, and I don't remember if it was the hour and the half hour that came down Bank Hall and the quarter hour that went straight up. But we really didn't need buses because we could walk from town.
Our communities were characterized by a number of features. A major one was the presence of shops, community shops, and of course, the rum shop.
In terms of shopping, of course, Bridgetown is just there, you're going to Bridgetown. But, you know, as a boy, you're growing up, and your mother or your parents used to say, send you to the grocery. Well, we had the Shamrock in Eagle Hall and in Baxter's Road. You had Arthur's Supermarket, where the Black Rock Police Station is currently. We would go down to Robert Street to Hill, Russell, Lord. And in James Street, you had Rick's and Red Rose Supermarket. It was two Miller Brothers. And then you had the Maxwell's at the bottom, RDN and EDM Maxwell. So, you know, on Saturdays, I want to be at cricket, but my mother is sending me to the supermarket. And I want to go to the supermarket as early as possible. She would wait till probably 10 or 11 o'clock to send me to the supermarket. Cricket starting at 1 o'clock, so I doing everything to get out there and get back to watch cricket. But eventually, after I went north to school, and I had to play cricket, I didn't have to do that on Saturday mornings. So that was good. That was good for me. That fell on my brother then. Well, of course, we had village shops. We had a lady called Julie Andrews. We used to call her Mrs. Kazoo. And at the corner of Bank Hall Crossroad, Eastman Corner, there was a shop there. Originally, it was a meat shop owned by a guy named Gittins, who operated at the corner of Q Road at first. Then he moved down to Bank Hall Crossroad, and the corner of Bank Hall Crossroad, which was a bigger shop. Then eventually, it was taken over by a man called Brian, who sold dry goods as well as alcoholic beverage. We also had a few shops in the area, like Map, who sold bread and dry goods as well. And talking about bread, everybody would talk about Mappy sweet bread. We were going to buy Map sweet bread. We had Miss Carlisle. Miss Kazoo also sold sweet bread. We had a few rum shops in the area. Of course, you could go to Miss Kazu, and in those days, you know, as a boy, if you go in the shop to buy something, if I was having a drink, there was a little door which separated the area where those fellas had the refreshments from where you go to buy groceries. So at Miss Kazu, they had that at all of them, at Mr. Brian's shop. In Turkey, there was Miss Hunt, and all these shops were like that. They had a little door which separated the persons having a decent beverage from those coming to buy dry goods, those youngsters like myself.
You might recall during our tour of the parish of St. Joseph, Eileen Walks from Cambridge did speak about the segregated compartments of the community shops. Yes, that special area where our children were forbidden. Now, as we have seen in other episodes, characters were the life of these communities. In Bankhall, these individuals stood out more because of the nicknames by which they were known.
We had quite a few characters also, but they weren't mischievous characters. We had nicknames more so than characters. We had a fellow called Hilton Tell, who we call God Dogs. The other brother, Victor Tell or Victor Maynard, who played drums in the Barbara, the Rhythmaires, and then the Cardinals. And we call him Jesus Puppy. Eventually became known as God Dogs. Then we had the Harden brothers further down Bankhall, that we used to call them Dry Peas. There's another friend, I think he's Vincent Allen. I'm not sure if it's the last name, but they used to call him Duckfoot. Then we had fellas around the area, names like Dr. Mud, Green Grass, Tapu, Pro. A lot of nicknames that fellas had that I mean, it was common in the area when you go in the area and ask for a fella and you don't ask for his nickname, nobody knew. For me, for example, if you were to go in when I was growing up and ask for Wade Bascom, nobody knew who you were asking for. You had to go and ask for Wayne Barrow. And up to, I mean, I was playing football for Empire, playing for Barbados youth team at the time. I used to go there and ask for Wade Bascom, the boys still didn't know who you mean, unless you went to school with me, you know. So everybody asked for Wayne Barrow because my father was a Barrow. So everybody assumed that I was Wayne Barrow rather than Wade Bascom. And I had some good friends who could tell you when the first fruits ripe in any tree. We used to refer to them as the ministers of agriculture. They knew when the first bud came out on the tree and when the first fruit was ripe. I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
One of the island's celebrated individuals was from this community. And as he traveled the world, he wrote the name of Bankhall on history's page.
I would say the most famous son of the soil is Sir Frank Worrell, who lived on the eastern side of the Empire Pasture, southeastern side of Empire Pasture. The house is still there. It was redone some years ago. It was supposed to be a museum. I don't know what has become of that.
And that leads us directly to experiences of Empire Club. In fact, we could not speak about Bankhall without engaging in a discussion about this space that holds great significance for many of its residents and represents a space of relaxation and recreation. If Empire Club could talk, you would hear.
As you know, Empire is the home of champions. And we all grew up around Empire. And on Saturday mornings, particularly when it was cricket, we would go out there and help to prepare the wicket. Then we would go home, let's say around 11 o'clock, probably get a little snack, if there's something to snack on at that point in time, freshen up and come back to watch cricket for 1:30. And when we come back to go through the gate, we couldn't go through the gate. They wouldn't allow us through the gate. So we had to resort to jumping over the wall in order to watch cricket. After preparing the wicket, you know. Originally, you had some people at Empire who did not encourage the youngsters around. As I said, on Saturday mornings, that was one thing. But then during the week, we would come and bowl in the nets and practice football. When it was football season with the footballers. And then after that was finished, and we tried to go in the club to get a glass of water, there had some folks who would not allow us to come in. And I thought that was wrong. Eventually, those people passed away, and I was able, with the help of some of the other guys of my era, to encourage the youngsters to come into the club, embrace them. And so a lot of them ended up playing for Empire, and instead of going to other clubs. We did it because we loved our club. We really did. In fact, most of us around the club joined. I joined when I was like 15 years old. So, and I have some very good memories of Empire Club before emigrating to the United States. And I haven't been as active in Empire Club since I've returned, but they're still doing relatively well.
ICB Empire duly won the Legends Lager First Division cricket title after securing a first innings lead over Caribbean Lumber YMPC rather, at Beccles Road today. The Blues finished with 76 points.
And I'm still proud of them.
And that is good news indeed, from sporting activities to activities of entertainment.
Growing up in Bank Hall, we had great fun, particularly over in Pavilion Road in Bank Hall where I came from. We had a number of attractions. For entertainment, for example, the cinemas, we had the Globe in Bank Hall, which was just a few minutes down the road. But we also were able to go to the Globe Cinema. We would go through the Garden Land and Country Road, Robert Street, or we go through the back by Perry Gap and go to the Globe. We go, if we were going to the Barbies, we would go through Strathclyde and go to the Barbies Plaza. But the three big ones in the city, the Bridgetown Plaza, the Empire Cinema, and the Olympic Cinema, were easily accessible because, as I said, we were just a mile away. We didn't necessarily need transportation. And we would go in groups and enjoy ourselves. We also had, when it comes to dance houses, we had places like Sargent's Disco in Avon Avenue. But then you had the Colts Club in Station Hill, the Liberty in Black Rock, Boy Child's Disco in Carrington's Village. Back in the day, when you go to places like Boy Child Disco, the Liberty, and all the other places of entertainment, Sargent's and all them, it was a lot of ballroom dancing. People used to go to ballroom schools during the week, and on weekends, they dress in their finest to do ballroom dancing. And, I mean, you used to go with your partner most of the time. But if you didn't have a partner, it might be somebody from the same dance school as you that you could dance with.
Yes, there was quite a lot of ballroom dancing in Barbados at that time. Wade mentioned a number of establishments where individuals assembled weekly and engaged in this type of dancing. Interestingly enough, in the 1980s, one of our Calypsonians, Punka, in lamenting this high interest in ballroom dancing, crystallized his concerns in a calypso. And in that calypso, he mentioned two establishments which Wade mentioned earlier in the program. Boy Child's Disco, located in Grosvenor Road, and the Liberty, which is situated right here.
I went by Boy Child Disco. It was ballroom all over the floor. I get vexed and I went in the Liberty. Again ballroom confronting me. I tell them ballroom is not natural dance. For the black people, Bajans come back to Calypso. Ballroom is European Calypso. Caribbean Bajans come back to Calypso.
That was really a fantastic time. But now what I see people doing as ballroom is not what we did, because we did the foxtrot, the social rhythm, the tango, the rumba, the jive, and all those other different things. Everybody's doing everything in one now. You know, it's a little different to the same rhythm. So they don't seem to be able to distinguish the rhythms. But if that's their thing and they're happy, fine with me.
As the theme for St. Michael is fetting and food, we will ask Wade to list the many entertainment spots that were the outlets for his people to unwind during the weekend.
You had places like Trade Winds in South Street, the Good Samaritan, which was known afterwards as the Casanova, Reed Street, and the Savoy in Mason Hall Street. So we would go to these places again as a group and enjoy ourselves, walk home after. Sometimes we were walking home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just having a lot of fun on the road, doing something mischievous as boys just to get a chase so we could see who the fastest getting home. We had quite a few groups in the area. I remember the Emotions, the Riverside Boys, and the Sunshine Boys. Now we don't have a river in Bank Hall, so I don't know how they got the name the Riverside Boys. The most we had was a canal, which ran through from Bank Hall Main Road, through Progressive Road, crossed Downey Gap, through the back of what's Skeets Road now, and ran down into Prescott's Bottom. But I don't know if that's where the Riverside name came from, but we didn't have a river. In terms of bands, big bands, the Fantastics used to practice at the bottom of Holligan Road. At the time, Julian Rogers was their manager, and they practiced at his house. On the other side of Holligan Road was Prince of Wales Road, and the In Crowd, which was led by a guy called Delisle Callender, basically about 5 houses away from the Fantastics. They practiced there. And then on Bank Hall Main Road, opposite Queen Mary Road, they had the Cardinals, led by Erskine Callan. I think he was also the manager. And that band included Smokey Burke and the former Chief Justice, Sir Marston Gibson. They practiced there as well. And then we also had a quartet. I do not remember the name, but I'm not sure if it's the Desmond Redmond Quartet. They practiced in Pavilion Road at the home of the Grants, the Hackett's. And it included people like Desmond Redmond, as I said, Anthony Hackett, Ernest Small. I don't remember who the 4th member of the group is. But they practiced there and they played at the Hilton almost every night.
Now, speaking about the Hilton, Wade relaxes there for a few moments and talks about experiences of the beach. Where did the folks from Bank Hall swim?
The beach wasn't as close as we would have liked, but we would always go together in groups. I would go with my parents, with my father actually. I would go with my father to what is now called the Pebbles Beach. Back then we used to refer to it as Shot Hall, which is between the Hilton and Radisson Aquatica, where the pot was. What is now the pot down Spring Garden, the original pot was up there. They had this big tank in the sea that would take the water in, carry it in and cool the turbines, and it came back out by a pot. It was very hot if you're close to it. So a lot of people used to come from all over the world. As a matter of fact, I remember a man coming here in a wheelchair, unable to walk. And they took him to the pot, and by the time he was ready to go back, he was walking with a cane. No wheelchair, a cane. With my mother, I would go to Brandon. She always loved Brandon's. So we as boys, we either go Shot Hall, Browns Beach, or Brandon's.
From Brandon's Beach, we will make our way back up to the community under discussion, Bank Hall, and show how it was used as a testing ground for many of those individuals who are today authorized to drive on our roadways.
When people were going for the driver's licenses back in the day, there was a time, at that time the policeman used to take you out. So you had to go into Central Police Station and go in the polls. If you weren't successful in the polls, you didn't go on the street. So you would come out of Central and make a left, Corey Street, then make a left onto Mahogany Street, Mahogany Lane actually, then onto Baxter's Road, and they would take you up to the Q Road where Power in the Blood is. You go through there, and there's a little hill when you got to Q Road that come around the corner, come out to Q Road and Bank Hall. Then you make a left by where Abundant Life is now, and then make a right in front of Abundant Life, which is Martian Road. And that's where you had to do your hill climb, as it were. You had to reverse in the hill, and you had to move off in the hill without the car moving an inch, otherwise you would fail easily. And the last part of it was when you go around the Methodist Church, because it's like a triangle. When you go around the Methodist Church, you come back into that's Buckingham Road, and as you turn into Buckingham Road, you have to turn into Windsor Road, where the grandparents of your own Ryan Broom lived. And there was a big hedge, a big cuscus hedge. If you touch that, you fail. If you touch that grass, you fail. So, I mean, I've seen many people cry up there. Fortunately, I did it once. I was successful on my first try. Buckingham Hill at the time was very steep compared to what it is now. As I said, if you roll an inch, if you're supposed to go forward and it roll back an inch, you fail. And if you reverse out the hill and it roll forward an inch, you fail. In those days, the policemen were very, very tough. Nobody came out and watched, but of course, unless it's somebody they knew that was going for the driver's license, so they're waiting all day to see when the person comes and how they do, if they make it that far. Because as I said, if you didn't get in the polls in town, that's it. You gotta come another day.
And so it came to pass in Bank Hall, the life, the energy and the magic of a community as seen through the lenses of one of its sons. Thank you very much, Wade, and thank you for viewing. This has been My Community Bank Hall. Until next week at the same time, I'm Sherwood McCaskey. Goodbye for now.